Now, Nigerian newspapers have jointly published the same front page as part of a campaign by the country's media industry to oppose two media bills they say undermined press freedom in Nigeria. Alongside the words information blackout is an image of what appears to be a child with jail bars replacing the mouth. The Nigerian Press Council, or NPC, and the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, bills list fines of up to 5 million naira, or just over $12,000, for journalists or media houses who do not ensure what the wording of the bill describes as truthful, genuine and quality services. If the bills become law, those convicted could be jailed for up to 3 years. The National Assembly has defined the bills, insisting that regulating the activities of the media does not mean gagging the media. Well, for more on this, I'm joined now in the studio by the Abuja editor of This Day newspaper, Iyobosa Uwugiaren, who is also the secretary of the Nigerian Guild of Editors, and later will also be joined by the chairman of the Nigerian Union of Journalists in Abuja, Emmanuel Obeche. Thank you very much indeed for coming in. Just set out what the issues are for us.
Well, I'm sure in the last few days you've seen front page campaign against the proposed Media Amendment Bill. And just today, virtually all the national dailies also carry a front page editorial, creating the awareness or trying to draw the public attention to the proposed Media Bill before the National Assembly, which many professional journalists and right-thinking members of the society describe as a creation of attempt by the National Assembly to criminalize journalism practice in Nigeria. And just about a few days ago, or maybe mostly a week ago, the stakeholders in the media met in Lagos. I'm talking of the News Proprietor Associations of Nigeria, Nigerian Union of Journalists, and Nigerian Guild of Editors, and other stakeholders met in Lagos. And I was part of that meeting, and we examined the whole proposed bill, both the Nigerian Press Council and Nigerian Broadcasting Commission's proposed amendment bill. And we came out, with the conclusion that those bills before the National Assemblies are not in the interest of Nigerians. It's not about journalists alone, it's about the right of the public to know. Because if you are talking about democracy, you are talking about people having access to information.
Yes.
And the only platform they use is the media, whether radio, television, newspapers, online. Those are the only platform that they use to have access to the information. And there are also those platforms they also use to make meaningful contribution to democracy. Because if you deny them of freedom of information, if you deny them of those platforms to express themselves, to participate in debates about democracies, so you are denying them the fundamental of democracies in the country.
But let's face it, Iyobosa, all governments regulate the press and the media in some way. What is it about these proposals that, in your assessment, crosses the line in trying to gag the press?
First, Charles, let me make this point very clearly. We are not opposed to regulation. We are saying that if we must have a regulation that will be backed by the law, of course, the National Assembly is empowered by the Constitution to make good laws for good governance. So if they decide to make law for the smooth running of the media industries, we don't have a problem with that. But that regulations must be, conducted by professionals, not put under the Ministry of Information, like the proposed bill I set out to create. Let me just give you instances, or maybe some sections in that proposed bill. And for example, the bill says the members of the board of the Nigerian Press Councils will be appointed by the president on recommendation by the Minister of Information. Of course, you will have a representative of Nigerian Guild of Editors, you will have representative of Nigerian Union of Journalists, and representative of Newspaper Proprietorship of Nigeria. But those nominees will be appointed by the president, not the professional group themselves, on the recommendation of the Minister of Information. And they're also saying that that board will be a mere advisory board, and that the power to regulate the Nigerian Press Council will be vested in the office of the executive secretary of the council, who might not necessarily be a journalist, but will be appointed by the president on recommendations of the Minister of Information. So what we are saying, and the B is also saying that the executive secretary of the Nigerian Press Council, for example, will give Nigerian journalists a code of conduct, and that code of conduct can only be operative or can also come into effect if that code of conduct has been approved by the Minister of Information. I don't know whether you understand. So, and the other section also says that there's also an attempt in the bill to criminalize journalism practice in Nigeria. Let me give you an example. In the media industry, sometimes you get misled by your sources, you know, and if that is discovered, the code of conduct says you must quickly apologize to members of the public. Absolutely. And carry a rejoinder. But in the proposed bill, there's no room for that. If you publish a story that turned out not to be true, the bill said you are guilty.
Yes, let me just point out here an additional problem in support of what you're saying, because there is a clause that says that you must ensure truthful, genuine, and quality services. And it's the government that decides what consists of truthful, genuine, and quality services. And you're saying that the government should not be the one to make that determination.
Charles, that is the core fundamental of sound journalism. We don't have mandate to fabricate stories. I mean, the core value of media part of journalism is that you must always, your first obligations is to the truth, which means that you must always ensure that you publish, you publish the right stories at all time. But we are human beings like every other profession. Sometimes when you make a mistake, there should be a room for you to apologize. It's a global standard all over the world.
Absolutely.
But this bill does not recognize that. The bill says you will be guilty of misinformation, and the penalty is about, for a journalist, is about
it's 5 million
naira
or 3 years imprisonment.
Right. And apart from that, your newspaper is also liable to about 10 million naira fine, and the newspaper will also pay about 20 million naira to the person affected in the so-called false information. So that is an attempt to criminalize journalists' practice.
Right. And of course, in addition to all that, the new amendment bill, from what I've read, proposes that newspapers register again with the Nigerian Press Council when they are already registered as businesses with the Nigerian Corporate Affairs Commission. And they dutifully, obviously, pay all their taxes and so on. But now they've got to additionally register under the Nigerian Press Council, which means, does it not, that the Press Council can in fact revoke their licenses if it sees fit to do so? How much of a threat is that?
You see, that is an attempt to license journalism practice. Like rightly said, the media is already registered with Corporate Affairs Commission. You register with the National Library, and you are given your number, and you also register with the Ministry of, it's some sectors in the Ministry of Information. But the proposed bill gives power to the Nigerian Press Council to registered media houses. The proposed bill says before you can set up to practice journalism practice or register in newspapers, you must be recognized by the Nigerian Press Council. So if you have a government, for example, that doesn't like your face, and the executive secretary is appointed by the government says, oh, we cannot allow Charles to set up a newspaper because he doesn't like us. If we give him that power to publish the newspapers, it will be against us throughout the publication, throughout the service of that newspapers. You know, the very government, those who are promoting the bill, they are behaving as if the media is a political enemy of the government. And we are saying it is not about the media. It's about the right to know by the Nigerian public. There's nowhere in the world, except in a authoritarian style of government, where you try to destroy the civic and political space, so that people can no longer participate in what you do, because the constitutions of Federal Republic of Nigeria, Section 22, gives power to the journalist to monitor the activities of the government.
Right. We've got
and hold them hold them accountable to the people.
Right. We've got about a minute or so or less before we have to end this chat. Is there any wiggle room? Is there room for negotiation, or is it pretty much that sitting there in front? I suppose they gave a public hearing at the National Assembly. Is that it, or is there any further negotiation?
Well, in that public hearing, the NPO, the Nigerian Press Organizations, that's made up of the Nigerian Guild of Editors, NUJ, and UMPAN, told them that we have a case against the Nigerian Press Council that is before the Supreme Court, and why that is going, why they should allow the Supreme Court to decide and to give the final verdict as far as that matter is concerned, and that we cannot trust this government, especially on this government, right, to set rules for the practice of journalism. We believe it is not in the interest of Nigeria
Iyobosa
and the democratic.
Uwugiaren, who is the Abuja editor of this day newspaper and also the secretary of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Much appreciated.